Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, my guest today is an old friend of the house, Muktar Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed is an international finance and economics analyst. As always, Muktar, it's a delight to have you on.
Thank you, Uncle Yori.
A pleasure. You know, when we have you on like this, it's because we want to yarn some hard technical stuff. And, well, I don't know what can be much harder than the debt of Nigeria. We're hearing, we know about, the only thing we know is that Nigeria's debt is rising. Everybody knows that. Why it is so? What is the implication? How can we do, what can we do? Because we've heard of some leaders of Nigeria have used the term to, plead for debt forgiveness. I don't know. First of all, explain, if you will, this whole matter of debt control to a non-economist so that an ordinary kid can understand how a whole country now gets into debt. And we are told that in Nigeria, our debt is rising. In fact, before we came on air, you were giving me a ballpark figure of around, did you say, how many trillion?
That's about 392 trillion.
Naira.
For the debt, if we are borrowing $850 million for subsidy alone. And what we made to understand that will take 25 years to pay that money. So generation after generation, we keep paying it, even after the people that collected it are long gone.
Now that you even went there, of course, we've been told that this is going to be channeled into poorest of the poor homes. And I think the idea is that, how much is that? I think that money is 5,000 naira a year. 5,000 naira a month for 12 months.
Uncle Yori,
how does all of that
look? We always look at subsidy like it affects only one side. Okay. When you are subsidizing in any economy, you don't just subsidize for the poor alone. Because when you subsidize for the poor are working for the rich. And so that means the rich themselves will have a way of increasing their goods and services. So what you think you are subsidizing for the poor is not even able to use it to even get any consumable in his house. So what we are looking at is that if you are running subsidy in any economy, subsidy touches everybody. If you want to, let me give an example. Kenya, when he came to power, the president of Kenya, William Ruto, when he came to power, what did he do first? He removed subsidy from petroleum product. He took it to where? To gas, to diesel. Say because most companies in Kenya operate on diesels. Mm-hmm. So that will bring down the cost of production. That will bring down the cost of goods and services. He said the poorest of the poor, they also operate rail system. Some of them don't even have a car. So the rich are the ones that actually benefit more of the petroleum subsidy because they have 2 to 3 cars. So now after the rich man, you will now begin to think, should I use only 1 car? I don't have to use 2 or 3 cars. So by that doing, he was touching everybody. Say, look, this thing touched all of us. Now, cost of production comes down. A lot of people are able to buy goods into their house, so they are able to meet up their demands to their family. And also, the rich that owns those companies are also able to enjoy a little bit of subsidy in terms of it. Then come to Ghana, our neighbor here. Ghana removed subsidy in petroleum product. But what did they do? They removed subsidy in petroleum product and then decided to put it in energy, in electricity. Everybody has electricity. Now, how do they do it? They know the richest of the rich area. So we'll subsidize at this amount in that area. We'll subsidize at this amount in this area. That is the way to run a subsidy scheme. A subsidy scheme that is only looking at one side does not do anyone any good. That is why you see the cutting of corner. That's why you see that the rich will cut corners to make sure that they also benefit from that subsidy. So when you say 5,000 naira, I ask myself, in Nigeria today, how much is 5,000 naira in exchange for $1?
Exactly. But a friend of mine, he's not an economist, but he did say to me that, don't think of it as so small like that. By the time this money, since it's going to be aimed at the poorest of the poor, by the time it is, released into those local rural economies, then we're going to see a marked difference.
Unless you are not in touch with the rural people. I mean, if you don't have people in the villages, some of us have grandmothers in the village, we still have mothers in the village, we still have cousins or nephews that are staying in the village. Send any of them 5,000 naira. Because even in the village, the cost of petroleum product is about 300 and something naira in the rural area.
So you don't think very much of that idea that, look, even if it's a modest 60,000 naira over 12 months, that is 5,000 naira a month, that this will somehow, if it is released, since you're not going to get this money and then just put it under your pillow.
When you look at the modest,
it's going to be injected
when you look
into
at the modest 60,000 naira in a year, if you look at the exchange rate as today, it's not up to $100 in a year.
Yeah, this dollar is a problem.
No. We need, because we are talking of a globalized, because all the goods that we get into this country are imported. They're imported. Even the cars that you say, okay, the rural people, the cars that they will even drive to take their truck to, they have to buy the spare part. The spare parts are not made here in Nigeria. So it's not about dollarizing your economy. But when you look at IMF or World Bank, when they are talking about it, they will talk in terms of dollar rate.
Yes, they will.
That's what they will say. That's what we use. The GDP that we are shouting about that we can borrow because we are GDP. So how do they calculate? Is it not by dollar that they will tell you that that's why we can borrow more? So we are not dollarizing it, but if we want to do things, we should see. If we keep doing things the way we keep doing things, and we think we have a difference, or we are just killing ourselves. Nigerian Labour Congress. You said, okay, subsidy, you give them palliative, you bring in transportation. Uncle Yori, we have done it before. Did it work? Fortunately, the current president was in charge, Petroleum Trust Fund. Remember that time? Yeah. Every money set aside, they bought a lot of buses, even gave to higher institutions. Where are those cars today? They are nowhere. So you say you buy mass transit. There was a time Babangida regime removed palliative. Remember the SAP time? They brought in a lot of mass transit buses to be operated by the government. Where are those buses today? So we keep doing things same way. We expect a different result. You are looking at the mass transit, but you're only thinking of the civil servants. How many percentage of the civil servants do we have in Nigeria? The informal sector has been killed already by this administration through their so-called Naira redenomination. That sector is dead.
Well, yeah.
So how are you thinking to revive that sector?
So what you just spoke about now, are you referring to the whole, I don't know what that was, whether it was an escapade of we're going to change the Naira, and all of that.
As we keep going.
Did that really have any, slowdown effect on the economy?
Exactly, it did. Remember,
and we're right back to where we were before all of the mess started.
Uncle Yorin, do you see the new 1,000 Naira note again?
At all.
Do you see the 500 Naira note again?
No.
So we have gone back
to where we were.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the central bank or whoever is in charge.
Maybe they're deliberately
maybe they're maybe they're printing.
They are printing the new note and keeping it so we'll finish the old notes. Because I don't see you going to any bank. Go to any bank. I don't know, maybe a bank outside Lagos.
You won't
go to any bank in Lagos. You don't get the new note, 1,000 Naira note. You get the old notes.
That's right.
The only new note you get is 500. The old 500 you don't see. In the new 200 you don't even see again. Even if you go to the ATM, you get the old 200.
And nobody's talking about that anymore. I mean, it's a real cock-up.
No, nobody's talking about it. Because that sector
we've all gone quiet.
That sector was killed. Because that sector is largely driven by cash transaction. It was killed. And we are not thinking about that. That sector is gone.
You started from telling about Kenya and even our neighbor Ghana. And if it sounded so logical, if it's as logical, I'm surely as many economists and financial gurus as they have in Ghana or Kenya, for that matter, for example, we'll probably have double here.
We have double. We have the best. But, we have an economic team that is run by one of the best of brains in Africa and in the world. Some of them actually lecture in Harvard and all of that. We can name their names. They are all over. They have businesses. Their names are, household name globally. But like they always say, former President Obasanjo said, your own is to advise. Whether I take your advice or not, that's not your business. Just advise me. I will decide what to do with your advice. So what we see is not that they are not talking to the government. I believe some of them talks to the government. I believe some of the ministers are highly cerebral I mean, I don't want to give name, but I can give name of ministers that they are private sector driven.
They know their
They
onions.
know their onions. You talk about, you sure will give name. You talk when you see Fashola talked about road, you think he's an engineer, but you never knew he is a lawyer.
He is a lawyer.
But you see him talk about road, and you say, wow. So you have them all over. Is it Festus Kiyamu? I mean, these are brains. These are people that know the economy. If you look at the Director General of the Budget Office, he was the former Commissioner for Budget and Planning in Lagos State.
You seem to be putting if one is to call it the blame, squarely in on the desk of whoever is the chief executive.
The chief executive is Mr. President.
That's
so whoever is advising Mr. President doesn't know it all. Let's be true about it. Let's look at President Buhari as a person. Have you seen Buhari give any economy paper anywhere talking about how economy move, how you're supposed to grow your economy, even when he was in office or out of office? If you're talking about people that talked about the economy, when you see former President Olusegun Obasanjo talk about the economy, you think like he read the economy when he was in school, but he was an engineer in the
army.
In the army. So it boiled down to that the president seems to be handicapped in the area of economy, and those people that are supposed to be advising.
Why you have advisors.
Yeah, it depends
People
on what the advisors. Remember when the issue of Naira redenomination came up? Remember the Minister of Finance said, "I'm just hearing it like all of you are hearing it."
Yeah. And a lot of you analysts were saying that the president had been misadvised.
The result is showing that the president was misadvised. The results now that what we are saying is showing that it was more of a political move than an economy move. I kept saying that it's more economy. It looks good security. I mean, it more political. It looked good security because at that time, banditry and kidnapping seems to have reduced. People, they just don't even, if you ask for ransom, where do I have to get the ransom?
And some people are warning that it is beginning to return.
It's returning, of course.
With the return of money, these people are beginning again.
You have seen it now. There are issues now. Kidnapping. A former deputy governor of Nasarawa State was kidnapped some few days ago. So it's returning. So the problem we have is, you look, in every economy in the world, I listened to the Minister of Finance the Minister for Information said even the biggest economy in the world, America, is the most indebted economy in the world. And I said, yeah, you're right. But the problem with debt is Americans have the revenue to pay their debt. It's like a man running his business. He's running his business, making profit, but he's running it on debt. His company is still moving. He's still making profit. He has the asset to pay off his debt. As it stands now, Nigerian economy, our debt profile is that we don't even have what to pay. We can't pay. If today they say, okay, come and start paying, we can't pay. That's why this government is always asking 10 years break, 15 years break, 25 years break before you start paying. That's why, because we can't pay. And the one that we are able to pay, it takes about 97% of our budget. So we have only 3%. How do you do capital project with that? So they have to borrow. Mm-hmm. They even borrow to do capital project, and they even borrow to pay salaries of civil servants. So it's more
and you
allowed.
just said that this palliative would think that we are borrowing for is going to take ages.
If you take the palliative that you're going to pay based on today's exchange rate of 465 official rate, I'm not even doing the rate, and you get about 390-something trillion, and you have to pay it in 25 years, calculate it. So does it really make sense that we are removing subsidy? You see, what you've seen that you remove subsidy one way, and you are trying to get back to subsidy the other way. And now which other way you are doing? You are borrowing. You are still subsidizing, but we are not seeing it. We are seeing that the money is going to be, but we are paying for it. Maybe we are paying in a well-structured manner. Now it's structured.
What do you think of the idea of the whole idea that we've been talking about this, that subsidy needs to be removed and all of that? Now, the incoming president, the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his campaign on his campaign trail, had said that we will be removing fuel subsidy. That got a lot of people shivering because who don't even know very much about it. So I just wanted to bring that idea to you that we will, he's sort of giving that pledge, so people are going to hold him to that pledge, that, Oga, remember when you came asking for our votes, you said whether you like it or not, we will remove it because it's the right thing to do, it's the sensible thing to do. Are things not, at times, not going to be harder?
I think he has changed his language now. his team have changed the language. Because now the team is saying when it comes, subsidy will not just go immediately, they will look at it.
We will have to look at it.
The language has changed. Because this subsidy is more political to the poor. That's why we keep saying that subsidies does not benefit the poor, it benefits more the rich. Who are those companies that benefit from subsidy? How many
I like what you explained about the thinking in Kenya.
Yeah.
Along the lines of, you talked about that. Who exactly is benefiting? And you know, so let's take the subsidy off for people who are really going to do everybody.
Everybody.
Good.
That is why that's the best way. You don't subsidize and say, oh, I am rich, I'm not going to enjoy subsidy. We run the same economy. I want to increase my net worth too as a rich man. You don't say that I should be paying more. No, the challenge is that when Asiwaju said that, let me give you, I am an advocate of removal of subsidy. I've always said it that subsidy should go. Because when you think about the way the subsidy scheme is run, you begin to ask yourself, is it that we buy more cars? Is it that we go to more places? Because the thing keep increasing. Now, yesterday, I think one of the newspapers said that despite increment in subsidy, there have been a rise in petroleum prices by 81%. And yet subsidy keep rising, the pump price keep rising. So where are we really as a nation?
Where are we headed?
So where are we going? You know? So who is taking subsidy? NNPC have not redeemed a dime to the Federation account, and that is why we have the challenge of the exchange rate. Because the government does not have effects, again, to even defend the Naira. So it's a snowball effect that the government is, trying to handle. But unfortunately, I think the incoming administration will have a lot to do. They need to think outside the box.
There's, I just got to write it down here. I want to ask you a question on this whole dollarization thing. Because as you know, a group of countries, BRICS in the first instance, but even leave BRICS alone, there are people who are saying that, forget the dollar. Let's begin to look at things differently. It might sound to people as, wow, that's a way out idea. But we understand that some people are beginning to be serious about it, and the news is beginning to report on it, that there are African countries who are really gearing up to bring their own currencies to the fore. But let me take Reverend Dominic in the first instance. Good morning to you, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Chief Jody. You look smart today.
Oh, thank you very much.
Good morning, Muktar.
Boy, sir.
Jody, let me say this. What we are going through in Nigeria, not so much use negative words, is that there's no sincerity of purpose. Where is it on earth that you see a nation that is almost the highest producer in OPEC nation, what's the OPEC nation, oil producing nation, has no refinery? Where does it work? Do you know I have no problem if the whole refinery in Nigeria is working and you remove subsidy? Let the fuel be 1,000. And what does it mean? 1,000 naira a liter. So Nigerians are working in that refinery. Get some salaries in that 1,000 naira. We pay some everything in that 1,000 naira. That we're going to remove subsidy and we still depend on importation. Where does that happen? Do you know, every time we talk about the economy in Nigeria, because I'm an illiterate economist, I don't understand what it means. I want to ask Muktar, what is wrong that a nation that has a product cannot refine that product and use it there? Every day we're talking of dollar and naira. In the 70s, our naira competes with dollar because we have something to offer. The refineries are working. It is at 1, 2, 3 naira for $1. In fact, nobody wants to school in it. Not everybody that school in America come back to Nigeria. My son came back to Nigeria to work in a progressive region here because the salary in America is attractive. Nigeria's salary is more attractive. What happened? That we're living as if there's a ghost nation. We are all men who doesn't have common sense. The question here, the Labour Congress should not bother anybody. If you want to remove subsidy, yes, they put the refinery in order. If you do that, we cut off a lot of bills, and 1,000 naira. We are buying diesel today 900. For many years, I used diesel to power the engines in just in our church. We bought it last time 850, and nobody has died. So what I'm trying to say, subsidy is a fraud. Insincerity is the issue here. You can't compare Kenya. Kenya is the people have understanding of what they want to do. You can't compare Ghana. The people know that the government is sincere. The problem is in Nigeria, people are ready. The people in power are not sincere what they're doing. As long as the finance cannot work, I will not be part of removing subsidy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. As he put it, the governments of those examples we used, according to him, they are sincere. Of course, the implication is clear to what he's saying.
Yeah, I agree with him in some aspect. Like he's saying, well, the heaven should not fall. I actually, if I was coming to get the perspective of this, I actually looked at the price of diesel. As he was saying, at the point diesel was 900. Today, the major companies are selling diesel at 735, and I think the NNPC is selling at maybe 710. Now, what are you seeing there? We are seeing the power of deregulation. We are seeing because government does not subsidize a dime in diesel. So it's market forces that determine the price of diesel. You can see it has gone up and it's coming down. It's from the international market. Now, the problem with Nigerian refined petroleum product, I think it was former Governor Adam Oshomole, Labour man, then now Senator Adam Oshomole, Senator-elect Adam Oshomole that said that by the time you import this product outside the shore of this country, by the time it hits Nigerian water, the charges jack those prices to what we now begin to say subsidy, yes, subsidy, yes, subsidy. So the government itself is not ready to take a cut. Now, when you talk about taking a cut, the government is not ready to come down on their revenue. That's the challenge. Then secondly, you must look at it. The only refinery the government is waiting to work and think it will solve all Nigerian problems is the Dangote refinery. Now, you are giving Dangote the license to refine petroleum product. You supported him via the CBM. The NNPC have even bought a stake in Dangote refinery. They are partners, they are shareholders in Dangote refinery already. NNPC has bought their own there because they are now run like a limited liability company. Now, which other companies are you giving license? Why is NNPC now a limited liability company becoming a shareholder of Dangote refinery? Can NNPC itself say, look, all these are crap refinery that we have. We want to build a modular refinery. We have the network. We want to build one here, close. So it's no rocket science. But the fact, like, sincerity of purpose.
Okay. At this stage, let me bring in George. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to Muktar.
Thank you, George.
Uncle Yori, let me first say this. The kidnapping never stopped. We all know that when the Naira, so-called Naira redesign was on, the kidnappers were demanding for new Naira. You remember? So it never really stopped.
But they never got it.
They never got it. Nobody got that Naira.
Nobody got it.
They were demanding for new Naira, or you bring dollars.
Okay.
Even dollar is not available.
The kidnapping did not stop. And Uncle Yori, cast your mind back. I told you that CBN printed only an amount of currency that will last banks for about 1 week. Are you seeing the new Naira in circulation now? December 31st will come. It is old Naira we will still be seeing. The good thing is that MPLA will no longer be governor at that time. If the president-elect does not appoint a new governor by 29th of May, a new governor of CBN, Uncle Yori, I will be one of the first persons to carry placards.
Because when you made that statement, I was going to actually challenge you that how do you know what the new president is going to do? What if the new president keeps him on?
If he keeps him on, I will organize protest.
Well,
and I will carry placards against
George, you need to know that the CBN governor is by an act, and he has a tenure of 5 years.
Muktar is not sacrosanct.
It's sacrosanct. It's sacrosanct. Let me tell you how it works. You saw it.
Mr. George, please.
No,
let me hear it, and then if you want.
I have only 1 minute. Let me just say my own.
Okay.
Yeah, I have only 1 minute.
Okay.
Obasanjo, on assumption of office, removed the CBN governor and put a new person. Heavens did not fall. I was in CBN, and several CBN governors had been changed because of non-performance.
Okay.
Lamido Sanusi finished his term. It was changed. So that is not, it's not in the CBN Act that you must. Even if you are killing the economy, then we should leave you there. It can't happen.
Okay.
So you're coming to the issue. I've always argued that subsidy should not be removed. What should be removed is the corruption in the subsidy system. I do not believe that Nigerians are consuming 70 million liters in a day. We are not consuming more than about 20 million liters. That is what the president-elect should do. There is no country that does not subsidize life for its citizens. If we are producing petroleum, why is it that we must buy it at the same cost with people who don't have a drop of petroleum in their country? If I were the government, the incoming one, I would arrange with Dangote refinery for the meantime, pending when we have our own refinery, that Nigeria has 300,000 barrels of crude oil where it has been earmarked for local production. If that 300,000 barrels to Dangote to refine for us at a price that will be agreed, and we end up not buying fuel for more than 80, 60 naira in our country. And I think that is doable.
Okay.
Rather than removing subsidies that will make people to suffer more, it will not, all those are palliatives they are talking about on Koyori.
So bottom line, you are saying that as far as you are concerned, keep the subsidy, remove the corruption.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. What do you think of that idea?
Koyori, you see, we always come up with this analogy and we don't ask ourselves whether it's true, because you just think, because you are producing oil, the price of gas, in your country. America has the largest reserve of oil in the world. Largest reserve, and they still produce oil. Even if they are not member of OPEC, they have the largest strategic reserve. United Arab Emirates also large reserve of oil. Saudi Arabia, the same thing. They don't sell their oil at a giveaway price. It's based on international market price, via what you are able to refine and the cost of your refinement. If you go to those countries, you realize that sometimes today you buy those oil and those gas at a different rate. The following day you come, if the price in the international market has gone up, you see those things go on naturally. And then that's market forces. So the area where people say, because we are producing it, we must buy less, it doesn't work. Know that Dangote refinery is coming in as a business. You're talking about 300 million, we give 300,000 barrels of crude oil. We did the crude oil swapped with taking some of our crude oil to places like Sierra Leone and all that. Did it work? It didn't work. So that is still a room for corruption. To eliminate corruption, in Nigeria, you need to kill corruption. You don't just eliminate corruption, you kill corruption. Now, he's talking about the CBN governor. What I was trying to say there is, when Obasanjo removed the CBN governor, there was no CBN Act at that time. It was after Obasanjo did that, they came up with the CBN Act to protect the CBN governor. The last CBN governor that was removed was Lamido Sanusi Lamido, and it was termed illegal by the court at that time. Mm-hmm. It was illegal. The court said he should be reinstated, but at that time, he was already the emir of Kano. He followed that case to the logical conclusion. So the act said the CBN governor it can only be removed by 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly.
Okay, that's the modern situation.
That's the situation. So the only way the CBN governor can go is if he calls Mr. President and say, come, let me give you a soft landing. Just send your resignation letter to me and say you are the one resigning.
So you mean, really, what you're saying, the president can't fire the man without recourse to the National Assembly?
He can't fire. The act, according to the act.
Let me bring Mr. Jiboye in. We can talk about this some more. Mr. Jiboye in Ilorin, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Please go ahead now.
Okay, Okuyori, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
I salute your man there, Mr. Mohammed.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Uncle Oyori, did you know that in this country, those people who are working with our president, they are not faithful.
They are not what?
I remember last year, the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State for Petroleum, they said they will repair our refinery in Port, where they budgeted for 2.8 billion naira. They said the Port refinery will be working in December last year. Where are we today? Up to now, nothing comes out of it. I think in your TV here, TVC, they show us all these Oyibo people where they are working in Port. They just show us that they are working, they will do this, they will do that. Up to now, nothing comes out of it again. And they said they want to borrow another $800 million from World Bank. Please, let the rest, let them say that they should not borrow any money. They just want to frustrate the incoming government. When they continue borrowing money like this, how are they going to allow the incoming government to do the needful for the Nigerians? That is my take on. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Ajiboye. And, you know, Muktar has already debunked my whole idea about let that $800 million come in. It will be injected into rural economies. If there's going to be a difference, well, Muktar was saying that, well, not so fast, but we'll come back and we'll talk about that. Stay with us, please. We got to... Okay, welcome back. Our guest is Muktar Mohammed, International Finance and Economics Analyst. And we've been looking at the situation of Nigeria's rising debt profile. It's always been high, and it's even rising. And by the time we get to, you know, into a new administration, there might be a number of other financial shocks. But from the concept of subsidy, fuel subsidy will be removed, maybe it's slowing down a bit to we'll look at it and do what is right. I think that's where we are at now. Because oftentimes you hear that before people come into office, they have a very good idea of what they're going to do. But then we've heard that after all, when President Buhari came into office, 6 months on, he didn't have a cabinet yet, that kind of a thing. And, you know, let me spend a bit of time on the other concept of a little dodge. If dollar is causing us so much problem, some countries are talking about getting rid of the dollar as the, you know, a sort of a gateway. And, well, the BRICS nations are the most famous. And you were saying that, well, if they do business among themselves, you can understand that. Yeah. So where does that leave us in Africa now?
Yeah, it's still the same thing because globally you don't accept any currency but the dollar. So if we are not doing business, even the European nations that are talking this and that, if you want to do business with them, they would rather collect your dollar than even collecting their own currency. I mean, exception from some European country where you have the euro. And exactly you have to change that euro from your own currency to their own currency. So what we are saying is that if you want to do that, that's why we're talking about, remember the ECOWAS single currency. Those are things, the European nation came in, they have a single currency. So those, because they are doing trade within themselves, that was the whole idea of single currency. Single currency is to aid trade within yourself. Now, in a situation where you are not even doing trade within, how much of volume of trade does Nigeria do with Ghana? How much of volume of trade do Nigeria do with South Africa? Okay, outside the bilateral air agreement that we fly to South Africa and come back, how many of South African raw material, steel or diamond that is in Nigeria? They are one of the largest producers of diamond in the world. How many of the diamond do we have in Nigeria? When you talk of Kenya, what do they import into? The business we do with them in Nigeria is just in their Kenya Airways, and then we go there for tourism.
How about the tea and coffee? We don't.
How many? You see, the thing is that by the time you bring the tea and coffee from Kenya, it's more expensive for the businessman than when you bring the tea and coffee from Netherlands. It's cheaper. Now, what does that do? That's why they came up with the African Continental Trade Agreement. That agreement has not seen the light of the day. That agreement is saying that whatever is produced in Kenya, when you bring it to Nigeria, you have a tax holiday. You won't tax it so that to bring the cost down, so that it will favorably compete with the other things from Netherlands. Some of these things are good. They are fantastic, but when you look at the cost, it's high.
Joshua in Irewolide, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning and good morning, Mohammed.
Yeah.
You took something out of my mouth. I was trying to say this dollar naira thing, this dollar rate, when is it going to stop? I know that there was a time that this government tinkered with yen in terms of swap, but that didn't succeed. So I'm looking at what is about this dollar, that is it going to be forever? That's one aspect. The other one is this government. The incoming president, I'm happy that the man is an accountant or has an accounting background. That's part of my joy about him being the president-elect. The present government, he should be aware, especially the president, has very limited knowledge of economy. The weak point of this administration is governance by economy. It's almost zero. Now, when the head does not understand how to tinker with figures and understand basic accounting issues, it's easy for the people under to pull a wool over his face. I think happened to this president that no matter how well-intentioned these programs and plans are, he gets frustrated. If not, I will ask you on your bit. How come we borrow loan and then the money disappears? You are the people spending it. Instead of thinking about how much we are actually borrowing, ask yourself, when this comes into Nigeria, where does it go? So as far as I'm concerned, this regime of whatever subsidy should go is a terrible thing on Nigeria. It should go. We should find an alternative to increase productivity and get the economy running. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Joshua. Although I wonder if he didn't make a bit too much about the, total, it's almost like the president, is totally unaware of what to do when it comes to economics.
No, I don't say he's totally unaware. Let's
because
get that.
I was going to say that
President Buhari is more interested with the poor, of the poor. So any idea they sell to him that has to lift up the life of the poor,
okay, he's likely to listen.
He listens because to him, he is the president of the poor of the poor. But unfortunately, those ideas are not well conceived. The 5,000 naira we are saying has been there for a while now. Up to this moment, we don't know how they give that 5,000. Who is the poor of the poor? Who is qualified to get 5,000? Who is not qualified to? There was a time that we heard that you must belong to a political party for you to get that 5,000. So the strategy of who is poor. So who is poor is someone that does not have 5,000 naira in his account. That is our statistics of who is poor. So I think that, and unfortunately now, 5,000 naira, I must always go back, it's just about $1 something because of the 750. So it's not even.
But if you look at it as a 60,000 in over a 12-month period, and
Uncle Yera, I know where you are coming from, the rural area, when they see 60,000. But I'm telling you that the cost of living in those areas, you've looked at the inflationary figures that comes in from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, you realize that inflation is hitting the rural area more even than the urban area. Go and look at those numbers. So that is a challenge when inflation is hitting the rural area.
Equally as hard, if not harder.
Than because the cost of transportation in the rural area has gone times 2 because the cost of fueling their vehicles, they don't buy fuel at 185 in the rural area. Let anybody come and challenge me. They don't buy fuel at 185 in the rural area. They buy as high as 400 naira, 500. Ask them.
Mr. Mohammed in Abuja, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri. I greet you again, Mr. Muktar.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I concur with Uncle George.
Okay.
Definitely, the subsidy should not be removed, but the corruption in the subsidy should be removed. I seriously agree with him. And
But you know, our fight with corruption has been it's been a long, continuous fight.
We can still tackle it because I know Asiwaju is determined and is capable of tackling that corruption in the oil industry. I know he can do it, and it will be done by him. So,
okay.
That is number one, Uncle Yori. Number two, the advert you played when you went on this thing, on this break, I'm advocating that advert should be continuously playing in different media outlets, different media stations, including Arise TV, that we see it as another foreign body, like they are not Nigerians, because they always negative in reporting anything in Nigeria. This is sponsorship. We can pay them. They need money. We can pay them to be playing, because many of those boys that believe that America is heaven, they can be seeing the advert there. Please, I'm advocating. I'm appealing. Let them play that advert there. Let them know that the heaven has already congratulated Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then other presidents in Africa and all in whole the world. But they have congratulated him, so that they can have sense of belonging.
Okay, then.
Thank you, and have a nice celebration.
Thank you.
That's a politician talking.
That was a side jibe, but somebody having a sense of belonging. Anyway, okay. Even when Bola Ahmed Tinubu comes, as he has said, he's going to be the president of all. He's not a president of APC or anything like that.
He's saying that, and I remember that this very president in his first speech told us that I belong to nobody, I belong to everybody. But at the end of the day, he traveled to a place and he said, how can I do the same thing for people that gave me 95% of the vote and people that gave me just 5%? You don't expect me to. So let's hopefully, I think Asiwaju, with all fairness to him, I think immediately he won the election, I've seen his sense of maturity. He has not been talking too much. He has not been hitting his political opponent with jabs like what he did during the campaign. So I think he's beginning to look at, and his media team have said that Asiwaju is not going to be looking at which party you are coming from to make his cabinet. Hopefully. I hope it works.
Indeed.
I hope it works.
Ada in Jos. Good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Mr. Yuri and your guest, Muktar Mohammed. It's Ada calling from Govt State. Let me tell you something. Your guest is on point. Mr. Yuri, sorry, or maybe you're just playing the role of the anchor. When you are saying that the 5,000, when you accumulate, Mr. Yuri, even in your own house, even to drink water, bottled water, you spend 60,000 naira even in a month to drink bottled water in your house. Let's leave it at that. That is just, dehumanizing people. How can somebody that is a low self-esteem, what can 5,000 do for anybody now? The way forward for Nigeria is that we should restructure this country to discourage the feeding bottle economy. That is the way to go. Nigeria is endowed with abundant solid minerals. The last time I checked, in 36 states, including FCT. If we stop these things, we will make a forge ahead. You don't borrow money to share. Sharing money does not grow any economy. That is tackle the major infrastructure things that will, attract investors to come and invest. And then fiscal federalism, otherwise known as restructuring, will take care of those things. That is the first thing the incoming, the president should do. The president-elect should do. And I know that's what he can do it. That is the first thing to do. No matter what, if you don't do that, nobody can fix it. It's not Nigeria is not Lagos. Unless you have a structure on ground, we have a structural deficit. We correct the structure. That is when Asiwaju can become magic. I was going to call. I was telling somebody yesterday, and the person was laughing. I said, it might be a blessing for Atiku and the Obi and the rest of them. It might be a blessing because as they go in and there's a problem. Within 1 year, the people who are shouting, Ozan will start saying, crucify him. So maybe Asiwaju will take the blame. All the same, let's not do about Nigeria. It shall be well. Ogadima.
Thank you very much for calling in. You know, it's interesting that, you know, quite a number of people have commented on this 60,000 naira per annum, which is 5,000 naira for the 12 months, right up until for the next 12 months. And many people don't seem to think it's a very big deal. But when I introduced it to you as a concept for evaluation, and you had said, what is that? That was my first notion too. Say, what exactly is that going to do? But then being pointed in the direction of this money is going to be used, it's going to be spent, it's going to be put into the economy. There's going to be a cumulative effect. But people who know about these things, including your very good self here, have commented on it, and you're saying that you're not really impressed with that whole idea. Let them go ahead, but it seems like you are having a difficulty in seeing how much good it is going to do.
I mean, all you need to look back. Look at trader money. What has happened to trader money? We've done a lot of these policies. They are not working. Because for you to see effect of those policies, then you need to look at how much of 5,000 can somebody value in terms of providing healthcare or education for a student in the rural area. If you want to take a people out of poverty, first of all, you look at education and health. Is a man that is healthy by eating good food, then go to school, then we think. He will see the future. That's why you cannot cajole him. You give him 1,000, he will say, no, my future is bigger than 1,000. So what the politicians are doing, they are just doing the normal saying that, you know, politics, say in the rural area, when you give them 5,000, they vote for us. So we are going to be giving them 5,000 monthly, so it will help them since they can collect 5,000 for 4 years. No. You must look at the product, like I said, the productivity.
Productivity is all, it's everything.
So if you are giving 5,000 naira, is this 5,000 naira being productive in the economy? How productive is 5,000 naira to add to the economy? How much of 5,000 naira goods can that woman go to buy in the market, remember transportation, coming back to sell it on the road? We must look at how can we help the rural people. It's not by, like you said, not by no economy has thrived by giving people money. Yeah. Every economy has thrived by making the people more productive.
Exactly.
Increasing their productivity in the area of job creation and innovation. How innovative is 5,000 naira to the economy? Is that creating a product?
And that's what we need.
It's a product we need.
We need products so that we have some. In fact, thank God for our oil. Otherwise, God knows where we would have been.
Even the oil now, they are being stolen until recently. We are not seeing it again.
Who is on the line? There's somebody on the line. Lukman in Ghana. Good morning to you, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lukman in Ghana.
Uncle Yori, good morning. I love what your guest is saying over there. Mr. Muktar, I think I've watched him several times on several TV stations, and I love his understanding about economy of our nation. First of all, when you are talking about our national debt, people also should focus on, because that money is the state debt is included. It's not only federal government debt. The sub-nations, the states that are borrowing money, what are they using those money for? How many states are having state farms? Doing regionals, we have Awolowo in Southwest are doing cocoa. We have Pyramid in North. We have Palm North in Southeast. And our naira was bigger than dollar then. So we should focus on the state government as well and federal government. And like what your guest has said, we should stop this palliative issue because it will not work. We should invest on infrastructure and manufacturing. If our exportation is bigger than our importation, Nigeria will be greater and be better. Thank you, and have a nice day, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lukman. He spoke about state farms because he said, remember the states as well. And I remember Saraki, when he was governor, he had this whole farm.
Zimbabwe farmer. After he left government, the Zimbabwe farmer left because the other government. You see, that's what we're talking about, government. You see, when you look at all the state governments, what they have borrowed, you realize that They are borrowing to build infrastructure that is not adding value to create wealth for their people. You are a state in Ogun State, you are building an airport. You say you want to build a cargo airport in Ogun State. We have a cargo airport here in Lagos, which is the center of commerce. How much of that cargo will we not take to Lagos when you talk about security and cost of bringing those goods? Who wants to pay for that? Some of them just so when the time that they were building airport in Osun State.
New economy itself. All of these things, governments are sitting down, burning the midnight oil, planning these things, and then you come and you reduce it all to naira and copper. No, who's going to pay for that?
Who's going to pay for that? What incentive are you giving them? Let's look at UAE. What does UAE do? UAE has a cargo terminal outside of their airport in Dubai. They have a cargo terminal in Sharjah, where all cargo land. And then they created it like tax-free. And then in terms of transportation, there are a lot of things they add up to make that goods cheaper by the time it entered Dubai.
Mm.
So you don't just create a cargo terminal and just say, I will come and drop my goods there. Then governments are building airports. You're building airport in, you want to build international airport in Ibadan. You want to build international airport. Before I end, Uncle Yorin, out of 36 states in Nigeria, only 4 states attract foreign direct investment. Only 4. Lagos, Ogun, Abuja. I mean, it's not even a state.
Yes,
Abuja.
Yes.
I think in one other state. Rivers didn't attract, and it's the NAFO. Bayelsa. Even, I think, Akwa Ibom. They were the only 4 states that attracted foreign direct investment. So when you are borrowing to attract investors, let's look at it. How much of their borrowing have attracted investment to their places? When you want to borrow, you borrow to create value chain. And when you bring value chain, then you create innovation. Mm. When you create innovation, you create profit for the companies. When you create profit for the company, you get a culture. When you get a culture, you get employment. It's as easy as that. Well, it's no rocket science.
Well, that's a fine place to leave it, because let me just find a way to try and digest a lot of the things that you've put out there. And I want to thank you, as always, Muktar Mohammed, for coming along and analyzing these issues, along with our guests, our viewers that have called in on the matter. Thank you very much for doing so. We just are going to have to keep our fingers crossed, but as you were saying, the incoming administration with an accounting background, things should be different.
I'm very expectant. When you look at his antecedents, and if you look at his policy with the private sector, and you look at those he hangs around with, I'm very confident.
Thank you very much.